Okay, this is Debbie Dutton. I'm calling the Audit Committee to order. Do we have to do anything more than that?
No,
Just say who's present.
Okay, well, no, we call it, now we're gonna do the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now for the roll call, this is Debbie Dutton, present, Mike Hauser,
Present.
Barbara Puffer, present, Dave Sandberg,
Present.
Scott Safford.
Present.
Okay, Brian Thomas, Jack Lesson, Marianne Shealy are not attending this meeting. Does anyone move to approve the minutes? Did everyone review the minutes? Someone want to move to approve them?
I'll move Barbara Puffer.
Second?
Second.
Dave seconds it?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, public comment. Oh, we've got somebody coming in now.
She just went.
No, I guess we don't have any public comment. Items, we're moving to the agenda for items for discussion. We've got the finance director's report.
Okay. Excuse me. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
I'm Joe Onzik, Finance Director. So this will be a pretty brief meeting, I think. What I provided for you this morning are excerpts from the monthly finance report that's provided to the town manager. It reflects the activities that occurred in the finance department during the month of December. So we continually to work on year-end reconciliations, the accruals, and doing all the calculations involved for unavailable revenue and unearned revenue. We're working with our grants in order to compile a report and submit the expenditures for reimbursement. That's really an ongoing monthly activity. The application for the TDC grant is in the process of being compiled and should be completed by the end of February, in the hopes of having it approved by the town council by March. Much effort has been put into tracking emergency expenditures and assembling the supporting documentation for FDEM and FEMA review for potential reimbursement. We're still working on expenditures that occurred last year, and it's just a very tedious process in which we also work very closely with our tidal basin consultants, who are the experts in that area, and they help review everything before it goes to FDEM, who also then reviews everything before it goes to FEMA. So it's a long, arduous process, and we still have a long way to go in that process. Also, because we don't have a contracts manager, procurement manager on staff yet, one of the functions of the finance department is to provide assistance in preparing contracts, working with the attorney to do so for emergency and non-emergency expenditures as needed. And the review of utility billing rates continues as time permits. I think this coming month that will be a primary focus. So I'll probably have more to report at our next meeting. I have compiled, several months ago, this list of available funding, and what I'm doing now is just updating it. And so anything highlighted in yellow reflects something that's changed so that you don't have to read through everything to understand where we're at. So the $1 million grant that was provided by the Florida Department of Environmental Protection for the redevelopment of the Bay Oaks Recreational Campus, that was originally approved to have a $1 million match from ARPA funds. But in order for that to actually qualify for ARPA use, we would have to have a signed contract for that project by December 31st. And we were expecting that that would be the case, but unfortunately, we started to see that as we approached December 31st, that probably wasn't going to happen. And so the last meeting in December, the town council approved to have an alternate funding source for that $1 million rather than ARPA, and that would be to swap out insurance proceeds. So what we were doing originally was using insurance proceeds to help purchase the new town hall, because that's what the insurance proceeds, that's why we received them. But now we're using the $1 million of the ARPA funds for the new town hall, and we're using the insurance proceeds to fund this project. This grant will expire August 31st, and so we still are under pressure to get this completed by August 31st in order to utilize that grant. The other change is just the amounts that we've used on that FDEM stormwater grant is now increased to $387,000. There's $134,000 remaining. The state revolving loan program, this is a several-year-old program. This is for a stormwater project. We've already drawn down $11.3 million to date, leaving $8.9 million remaining. The bridge loan, the only thing that I actually changed here is that this is based on actual drawdowns of lost revenue. So we knew exactly what we had for FY23, and that's been drawn down. We budgeted an amount for FY24, but that amount now, because we've actually are in the process of completing FY24, we know that that would be closer to $2.4 million. We originally budgeted $3.5 million, so that'll be less that we need to draw down from the bridge loan because we have less lost revenue than originally anticipated. And we still have the budgeted amount for $2.9 million of lost revenue that we're expecting in FY25. But if FY24's performance is an indication, we probably will be below that 2.9 estimated amount for FY25 as well. Okay, then on to the $3.6 million American Rescue Plan. All of the projects needed to have either been obligated, meaning we needed signed contracts, or the funds needed to be expended by December 31st of this past year. So the things that have changed since this was last reported is those first three highlighted items, that's $720,000 of property to purchase a property adjacent to the new town hall. We're using, let me see if I have this right. Those three items have been replaced and swapped out for insurance proceeds. The elevator repairs, the painting and carpeting. No, I'm sorry. These are the items that actually did occur and we could use the funding for. And so that is what we were using insurance proceeds, but now I think I may have misstated it before. We were using insurance proceeds for the building, but now we're using ARPA funds. So the $720,000 of it was to help purchase the property that's adjacent to the town hall. Almost $140,000 is for elevator repairs, and then the $140,000 is for painting and carpeting for the new town hall. So if you add those three together, that's the $1 million that previously was going to be funded by insurance proceeds. Then the additional items that were added at the end of the year in order to make sure that these funds are utilized were for things for which we don't have other funding, and that would be the $47,500 for palm trees for Times Square. They were damaged by the Hurricane Helene and Milton, and FEMA does not reimburse us for landscaping expenses. There's the jet vac machine that was $648,000 is to go towards that expenditure, and that machinery will be used to clean the stormwater drains. And this is in lieu of hiring Earthview to do it for us as a service, and they had previously been charging us $350 an hour. So those expenditures are incurred rather quickly when we're hiring them to clean out the storm drains. And this would enable us to save expenses in that regard, and also allow us to have our own maintenance program so that we could continually be cleaning the drains and make sure that they would be ready and clean in the event of another hurricane storm surge.
So what does that do? Just suck out all the sand? Is that what that does?
It's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be ready, I think, June or July. We special ordered it.
Yes,
But
it's on order.
It's gonna save us so much money. I mean, right now, Earthview's $350 an hour,
Sure.
and we have to call them. So it's like, what Monday they're gonna show up, it might be Monday in February. So if we have this, we can actually do preventive
Yep.
maintenance, which is gonna be fantastic. We can get the drains cleaned out before the storms and just, it's gonna save us a bunch of money.
Right. Sorry.
So all of these were either incurred or accrued, basically, last year, is that what you're saying?
Yes, so the palm trees, that's already happened. I think in December that took place. The jetpack, it's on order, but we have a signed contract. The Mound House walkway lighting, we're supposed to have a signed contract. I don't think that has actually occurred, the work's not been done yet. Coastal engineering canal debris assessment, so that assessment work has already been done, and this was a way to pay for that assessment. This DRMP, that's like an architectural engineering firm. They're the ones who put together the plans for the Bay Oaks Rec Center campus, which is part of that $1 million grant with the $1 million match. So they're the ones who put the plans together, and we needed to pay for that outside of the grant, and that's what the $55,000 was for. We also needed to replace one of the public works trucks that were destroyed in the hurricane. There were actually, I think, 3 or 4 trucks destroyed. We received insurance monies back, but of course, it's not enough to pay for all of them in full. And so one of them we're using the ARPA funds to pay for. And then the $72,000 of North Tower landscaping. It's required by our land development code, and this is at the North Water Tower to go around the fencing and other things that are there. Okay, the town hall, so we received the $8 million from the state as a grant to purchase the new town hall. We used roughly $7 million of it for the building itself, and then we used the remainder of the grant to purchase the property adjacent to the new town hall, and we did receive that final reimbursement. So now we've actually been fully reimbursed by that $8 million from the state.
What is the targeted date to move, or do you have one yet?
We're close. Obviously, the last 2 storms knocked us back a little bit.
Yep.
There's still an issue with the elevator.
Yeah.
We're hoping to have the first floor open, but because of ADA requirements, we're kind of waiting on the elevator. But I think February is probably the target date.
I think the latest I think the February, end of February, would be probably conservative estimate. I think.
Yeah, we were hoping to be in there by the first of the year, but those last 2 storms knocked us back a little bit.
Yep.
But they're working on it. I mean, every day you see people down there.
No?
So the goal is to be in there as soon as possible. So as soon as we can, I know we'll be packing it up and moving in there.
You'll let us
Sure.
know when the meeting's not here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Joe? When, with all the controversy, and controversy is the wrong word, with all the difficulty with elevators throughout the island, how confident are you that you're getting one?
Well, I'm not directly involved, but from my understanding is this is the same elevator. Maybe Scott, you know
Yeah,
more.
and so basically, a lot of the problems with the condos, they have specific elevators, and those parts are really hard to get. This elevator is one of the more general elevators that parts can be obtained from different sources, so it's a lot easier to repair this elevator than others. But there is a whole big problem with the bottom. So there's so much water intrusion. That's the main issue right now. But we believe we have the parts sourced, and It's not like other elevators that are just one-off and you can only get parts from one source.
Well, even the library still has a problem, right?
Yeah,
They're-
it's not, they don't have a general elevator, that's a specific brand, and they can only use parts from that specific brand. Does that make sense?
Yes?
So we're in a little bit better shape.
And I think we were also able to use the same repair service as the original owner had already contracted. So we were kind of ahead of the game by
Yeah.
being able to utilize the same one that they had already started the process for, rather than start the process over and then get to the end of the line again.
That's correct.
So, okay, so then I think the last thing, is the $7,547,805 revenue replacement grant from the state. It was approved by town council at the last meeting, and now we understand, I think in about one more week is when we'll actually receive that funding. And so the last meeting I presented to you the plan of how we were going to use that. So basically, it's going to be used to repay the bridge loan that we have from the state. And by setting this money aside as payment for the bridge loan, it would be able to earn interest until the bridge loan is due, which is about another 8 to 9 years. I think it's 2035. And I'm sorry, I could be wrong, but it's roughly that. I should have brought my other notes from last meeting. But the term of the bridge loan was extended to a full 10-year term, and I think we're already past the first year, so it's like roughly another 9 years before it's due. So we'll have 9 years of interest that we can accrue, and by having the amount set aside, fully set aside, that frees us from the restrictions from using any of our other operational savings or additional incomes that come in. So we would have those monies available to do other projects as we see fit. Whereas before, all of that needed to go back into repayment of the bridge loan.
How is it determined where it'll be invested?
Well, I haven't even done that yet. But right now, we have a very good arrangement with our bank. They're paying us like close to 5% of interest on all of our accounts. So even if it's there temporarily or for a while, I don't know that we could do much better than that.
If you remember last year, we were
Yeah.
getting like 0.1%.
That's why I'm asking. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we've cleared everything up now. We're back at 5
Yes.
for everything.
Yes,
And the bridge loan's 0%, right?
it is, unless, until it comes due, and then
Yeah.
if we don't make the payments when they're due, then we have to pay 10% interest. Okay, so I think, other than that, then I just have the financial statements. And what I printed out for you is just like the basic one. So I've got the balance sheet. And this is just to give you a snapshot of where we are. I think everything looks fairly good. I'm not seeing any red flags anywhere in particular. The only thing that may seem odd is if you look at the American Rescue Plan Act, it shows an ending fund balance of -1 million, but that is because we haven't actually earned the revenue, and that's that $1 million that's tied to that $1 million grant for Bay Oaks. So as soon as those funds are spent, then we'll have earned that $1 million, and then it'll move from unearned, which is a few lines above there, to earned. And so then that'll take care of that negative fund balance. So I know it's odd and requires explanation. Beach access is similar, although not as large of a negative balance. But that is because we have to spend the funds first before we're reimbursed by TDC. And Beach Access Fund is the TDC grant fund. And so to the extent we are spending the money, we're borrowing money from the general fund in terms of the cash, and then when we're reimbursed, we repay the general fund. And then as we get caught up with the reimbursements, that negative balance will also disappear. Then the statement of cash flows, I think this is, a relatively new statement this year, but it gives you an idea of what's happening with our cash flows for operations. You can tell in the emergency fund, that's where quite a bit of the spending is occurring, as well as in capital. Then, I think the next report I wanted to show you is the one where we're calculating the lost revenue estimate. So it's really too early in the year to tell, but so what I've done in order to calculate this, we're comparing, the lost revenue is the calculation of comparing current revenue to what we had, the revenue before the storm. And so that's what that FY22 actual is. And so what I've tried to do is take that actual and then convert it into, like prorate it into a 2-month portion, simply by dividing by 12 and multiplying by 2, and then comparing that to the 2 months worth of revenue we received so far through November. So that's October, November revenue. And then that difference is what would count towards lost revenue if it's something that was affected by the hurricane. And so by that last column gives you all of the variances that were impacted by the hurricane, and that gives you that $493,000 lost revenue total so far year to date. And then the next report would be revenues and expenses by object code, and I sorted it in descending order of variance. So you can see we've collected so far a large amount of code enforcement revenue and interest revenue. So this is greater than budgeted. Also, ad valorem taxes, that's mostly, we should end up where we budgeted, but it's more of a timing issue that we're ahead right now, where more has come in at this point in the year than what otherwise would have come in. Parking facilities revenue is down, but part of that is October, November. That's really like kind of pre-season, so we're not collecting as much then. Okay, so expense-wise, I've done the same thing where I've got the positive variances in descending order. So as you can see, there's we are holding for wages 270,000 positive, and that's to result of vacancies. And all of this, I should just remind everyone, we're talking about general fund here and all the general fund departments. And then way down at the bottom of that list, there's expense for personal leave buyout. So this would be vacation that has accrued that is people are not going to be taking. And so we offer a buyout according to the personnel handbook. I think 80 hours was the limit this time around. And so people have an opportunity to do that. And so 40,000 was paid out. And that's kind of offset by that savings by the vacancies. So overall, we have a savings of 656,000. And then we are ahead in revenue, 665,000. So that we have a favorable variance so far the first 2 months of the year, that $1.3 million.
And code enforcement, that's obviously a one-time,
It is.
there must have been
It
a
was.
sizable recovery.
Yes, it was.
3 of them,
Good.
yeah. I think
Okay.
our buddy down at parking guy.
Made a quarterly payment.
He stroked a check.
So, and the next report is the same variance report, except it's subtotal by department.
So with the saving in the wages is good,
Yes.
but that means you have a lot of open positions. Is there anything that you feel is being delayed because you don't have the resources to do it? Is there any major projects that's impacting, or that's always a double-edged sword. It's good you save the money with lower wages, but that usually means something isn't able to happen at pace that you want.
Probably Frankie, Andy, Jeff could answer that better than I, because they're actually more, attuned to the daily operations. The things I might be aware of, I know they're struggling with public works. There's just never enough help there, so I'm sure it's impacting what they're able to do. I'm thinking even in the finance department, we're behind in the audit and doing analysis, but we do have the senior accountant position. We made an offer to a person, they accepted, so they're in the process of a background check, so that should be filled. We have that contracts and procurement person. That's kind of slowed us, that opening that we've had, that slowed us down because it's difficult to pull all that information for the contracts together. We're all doing our best there, but so what we're seeing happening now is like things are coming to town council with a retroactive approval date because we're just not able to get it through the system fast enough. So that's where you see some of that. I think beach rangers, being able to do the work on the beach is impacted. I think even with traffic control, just having enough people on staff to man all that's needed to be done there. So they're offering overtime, I understand. They're going to see if they can get temporary help. So these are the things I've heard, I think that have been mentioned at town council meeting. I don't know, is there anything else?
One of the biggest things is obviously the traffic down at the base of the bridge, and unfortunately, state law, where that light is, we can't use our own people, we have to use the sheriff's department, but we're gonna use our people where that old light used to be on Fifth Street, and then, I'm sorry, where Times Square is, when you come over the bridge, and then we're using our people, at the corner of Crescent and Fifth.
Where you have to make that.
Yeah, just to get people going.
Yep.
It's gonna require some overtime, but we have, I believe, 3 or 4 people that are trained traffic people. Unfortunately, we can't be at that light where a lot of the congestion is, so, we know for the next 90 days, we're gonna need to use the sheriff's department down there.
Yep.
It's gonna be an expense. They're way more expensive than our guys. But
Yeah.
It's just, we have to have, we have to.
And otherwise, people are working overtime, and of course,
That has effect as well. It's good in the short term, but in the long term, you burn people out and then.
exactly.
Yeah, there's a lot of cussing going on. You wouldn't imagine, but it's people are losing it, and we're working with FDOT right now to get they didn't even know that alternating light's not working. I mean,
I know.
I think we all know, and they
Yeah.
apparently did not, so.
Lights, bridge lights, there's a lot
Yeah.
of, few things, but. So overall, you've started off in a pretty good position. I mean, you've got revenues are in good shape, an added benefit of the code enforcement, some windfall there, and on the expense side, your first 2 months have been on the favorable side too, so a good couple of
Yeah, I
months.
think we'll see parking revenue go up. We're also working, we had an issue where somebody's trying to do a development and they needed parking in our right of way. And we found out that our average, it's either $50 or $100 a year for each spot, so we're working on a program to revise that. Not kill them, but
Right.
what, we're trying to figure out what the average parking spot generates, and then charge them that for next year, so our parking revenue should go up. So, what is that number? Do we have it in a pool?
I don't have that number yet. I'm still waiting for the number of parking spaces in order to calculate
Yeah.
that, but I should get that shortly.
It's silly that, somebody's paying $50 a spot for the whole year. I mean, it's good for them, but it's just not good management for us.
No. So, and then the last page of my financial report would be where all the cash is. So actually, the interest rates have come down to more like 4.5% in the latest month reporting. we've finally now, have redeemed all of those certificates of deposits that were at those ridiculously low rates. So that'll come off of the report next month. We still have the bonds at FMIT. I'm not really sure the history of that or why it's there. So I think that would be the next thing we have to focus on, is if what we can do better there. And then otherwise, at the bottom, we have the loans, and this, most of this is the state revolving loans that we have for the Tier 1 project. So that's all I have, unless if you have any questions.
So is the audit, is that on track?
Well, it's been quiet. I mean, they've not been hounding us for information. We're diligently working behind the scenes. I think the two things that are going to slow us down like they do so far the last couple of years are getting through all those emergency expenditures. But I think now that we have a senior accountant about to start soon, that we'll have more help in getting through that. And then we've got, we have to finish that analysis of the utility rates. And then once we have those two major pieces done, we should be on track to finish on time. I mean, that, in the very first year I was here, right after Hurricane Ian, we were late about 4 months with that official deadline. But our deadline is June 30th, so we should still be on track to meet that.
And your software, you said they've reached out and you're trying to get that, you got the contract signed and everything?
We have the contract signed, we received the first questionnaire, so now we'll be, we're just about to hear from our implementation manager, who will help us through the next step. So, yeah, we're just in the very beginning of it.
Good.
So overall, you think we'll live to fight another day?
Oh, I think so. It's very encouraging, I mean, to see the progress despite all of the challenges. It's very encouraging. And of course, we appreciate the help that we've received from the state and from FEMA, because without that, it would have been not possible.
All right, do we have any other member items or reports? Looks like the next meeting is in 1 month on February 10th at 9 a.m. And
I'll
Get a
move
move
to adjourn.